Okay, thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the November 16, 2021 meeting of the Orange Town Plan and Zoning Commission. I am Commissioner Ozzie Parenti.
Tamara Trantalis, Administrative Assistant.
Tom Tarenti.
Paul Kaplan.
Kevin Cornell.
Judy Smith.
Jack Demergen, Zoning Enforcement Officer.
All right, we're all here tonight. Let's get started right away. First item on our agenda is the review of the minutes from the November 3, 2021 meeting. Has everyone had a chance to look those over? Tammy, I have just one thing on new business. Commissioner Smith offered congratulations to Oscar Parenti, Paul Kaplan, and Kevin Cornell.
It's actually Tom Tarenti.
You see anything wrong with that?
Yes, I do. I do, actually.
All right, so we'll put Tom's name in there
It's
instead
okay,
of Paul.
Tammy.
We can still congratulate Paul.
On their triumphant win. Isn't
Yes.
it? Did Judy actually say triumphant?
Triumphant.
No, I did
That's
not
pretty
say
dramatic.
All right, what word did you say? I like triumphant.
Victor win.
I mean, I'm all right with triumphant, but
What word would
I'm not
you
sure that's what she said.
put in?
Whatever, it's not a big deal. I'm only kidding.
Yeah, we'll just-
I'm only kidding.
My interpretation, yes. Okay.
All right. The only other thing, I actually had two things on page 3. There's reference in the third full paragraph to OVNA.
Do you want me to spell it out?
Yeah, what is it? I
Orange
couldn't-
Visiting Nurses Association.
Oh, God.
I'll write it
I
out.
mean,
Obviously, you haven't needed their services yet.
right. But next
But
week,
it's
probably.
with his early onset dementia, perhaps.
Cataracts and everything else. That's all I had.
I just, on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7th full paragraph, Commissioner Cornell expressed, so I believe that it was Commissioner Smith who expressed a desire to get input from the police chief.
Okay.
All right, if that's it, someone prepared to move acceptance of the minutes?
So moved.
We have a motion,
Second?
seconded by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor? Aye. All right. Next item on our agenda is old business. Does anybody have anything under that topic that they would like to bring up? Okay, we'll move right along then. New business. Still nothing, okay.
Yeah.
All right, next item, report of the zoning enforcement officer. Jack?
Let's see. I know that you all received copies of some violation notices that went out this week, so we're staying on top of that. Oh, sorry.
You're good.
Okay.
Thank you.
I know I sent out the letter from the police chief regarding the cannabis retailers, so I hope everybody had a chance to read that. So when we do revisit that topic, we will certainly have his input. Let's see. I wanted to let you all know that I did notice the Department of Consumer Protection and the Office of Personnel Management, who are the two entities that we had to notice once we made a decision on cannabis retailers. I got responses from both of them, so we should be all set until we, again, revisit that down the road.
Okay.
The last thing I have is,
Did you send that around, or what did they say, or?
no, they just said received.
Oh,
I
that
reached
much,
out,
huh?
Yeah, I reached
Okay.
out for confirmation just to make sure that they got everything. Because they sent us out a really nice, I don't want to say cheat sheet, but it was like an online survey that we as a municipality fill out, and it goes right to both entities. So I filled it out, but I just wanted to make sure that they did receive it. So I reached out to them and got confirmation from both. So we should be good there. The last thing is some of the legislative changes that we went over with in that special meeting with Vinny. Maybe at the next meeting, or as we kind of come into the new year, I'm gonna sort of create an order on how I think we should handle them in the sense of what's needs to be handled sooner rather than later.
Was there anything that had to be done before? I think it was in February was
The
the
first thing was
earliest.
outdoor dining, was the first one that came into effect, I think, in April of next year.
Okay.
So we would have to change up, because I know we went over it, but outdoor dining is going to be permitted as of right now. So we have to change our regulations to reflect that, and, you know, however we feel. So that'll probably be one of the first ones, but I was just gonna make kind of a pecking order for us to chip away at everything.
Well, and maybe it would have been more appropriate under new business, but in this vein, we might as well get language for the charging of fees for professional services required. What's that? You'd have to be professional. You know, the engineers and traffic guys. and
Private
things like
consultants,
that,
yeah.
For the consultants. And I'm sure Vinny probably has some language that he could trot out.
Absolutely. I'll put that on sooner rather than later.
Thank you.
But yeah, that's pretty much it for
I'm
me.
glad you're working on that, because I have to be honest, I haven't really focused on it yet. I know we're gonna have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, I know we have some time, but again, I'd rather chip away at it rather than let everything kind of come at once, especially, you know, if we have a meeting where we don't end up with a ton on the agenda.
Yeah.
Seems like a good thing to do.
Very good. Okay, anything else for Jack? All right. Then we'll move right along to our public hearings. We have two this evening. First one's a special permit application submitted by Robert and Tracy Bosick. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes.
For property known as 638 Ridge Road for the construction of a 70 by 90-foot indoor sporting facility for private use. Paul, you want to start by reading the legal notice for us?
We should have set that up for him.
Good. To appear one time on Friday, November 5th, and on one time on Friday, November 12th, 2021, the Orange TPZC notice.
Other legal notice. Sorry,
Hold it.
we did two of them at two different times this time.
Hold it, which one?
That's for our next item.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay. We'll try this one. To appear one time on Tuesday, November 2nd, 2021, and one time on Tuesday, November 9th, 2021, the Orange TPZC notice of public hearing. Notice is hereby given that on Tuesday, November 16th at 7 p.m. at the Orange Town Hall, 617 Orange Center Road, the Orange Town Plan and Zoning Commission will conduct a public hearing on the following. Special permit application submitted by Robert and Tracy Bosick for a property known as 658 Ridge Road for the construction of a 70 by 90 indoor sporting facility for private use. Copy of this notice has been filed with the Orange Town Clerk. Additional information is on file in the Orange Zoning Department, dated in Orange, Connecticut, this first day of November 2021.
Okay, thank you, Paul. All right, it appears that the applicant is present through counsel this evening.
Yes, and they are here as
Yeah.
well themselves. So good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission and staff. My name is Kevin Kersaden. My office is at 3 Lafayette Street in Milford. I'm here tonight with Robert and Tracy, the applicants and the owners. Robert is a lifelong Orange resident. I'll just give an overview. They're currently on the property. Here's the proposed plan. You should all have a copy of that in the application. I don't know if I can take one of these off with me, but in the back, and I'll pass out an overhead or a Google Earth satellite image. So you can see the property. It's about 1.65 acres. It's right now in the back surrounded by farmland. The neighbor next door, Mr. Longobardo, has, I believe, put a letter in, sent a letter in as part of these applications in support of it. He came and spoke when we were in front of the ZBA in support of the application. But that overhead kind of gives you the situation of the property with respect to the other properties and what else is in the area. Currently in the back, you could probably see a shed or a garage. That would be removed and replaced with this structure if this were to be approved. There's a little bit of history to this. Mr. Bosick was here many months ago now and was told that he needed a variance and to go to ZBA and have either ZBA give him the variance for the structure or give some other type of decision. And I guess that was based on the policies of the department and previous things that had happened years ago between the ZBA and planning and zoning. So Mr. Bosick did that. He went to ZBA, and as part of that, the chairman, when he reviewed the plan initially, said that the plan was substandard. So it took some time to get the plan up to standard. He had NOK engineers review it, do drainage studies and dig test pits. I don't think that there was any problems found with the drainage for the property. So once that was done, we went back to ZBA. We had one hearing. The board did not act on it that night. They had some additional questions. At that point in time, and there had been previous discussions with town council all along when I had become involved, town council Vin Marino had given an opinion that a variance was not required because when the subdivision was originally approved in 1987, the coverage was 15%. Allowed coverage was 15%. Now it's 10%. And so it's Attorney Marino's opinion, based on Connecticut General Statute 8-26A and a case called Poirier versus Stratford from years ago, that we do not have to comply with that current. We can comply with what was in place at the time as far as the zoning regulations when the subdivision was created. So
Just if I could elaborate on that.
Sure.
One other thing I discussed with Vinnie today. I think the lot coverage here is like 12 and change, right?
No.
12.4.
No.
Not with the addition. Not with the.
Existing, it's about 11, high 11s, low 12s, right?
All right, so what I suggested to Vinnie, I questioned him on was, does that statute, is that in place for the purpose of allowing a property owner not to have to bring his property into compliance when a new regulation is adopted? So, if the new percentage is 10 and they're at 12 and change or 11 and change or whatever, it's only right, it makes sense that you wouldn't make them fill in the pool in order to accomplish the lot density requirement. But Vinnie assures me that he reads it.
If it was there, your position,
Yeah.
at least your comment is, if it was there before,
Right.
it was there before,
And
and it was
so my
legal.
concern would be, what my concern to Vinnie was, well, if the applicant is expanding it, it's essentially like a non-conforming use. They're growing a non-conforming use. But he stood fast on his position that the 15% lives with this property indefinitely.
Right.
So you always have the ability to improve it up to 15%. I'm subject to a special use permit and all, but the 10% will never come into play, and you can't expand on the existing, nonconformity. Just by way of, having explored that issue with Vin.
Did you have another point that you were making?
No, I mean, the town attorney says that's the way it's to be
Yeah.
interpreted. I'm not going to render a legal opinion to the contrary, even though it does seem, following Ozzy's language, that it would be analogous to expanding an existing non-conforming use.
Right. But I think Vinnie was comfortable that, the statute as interpreted by that Poirier case that you mentioned
Right.
So if-
really carries the day, which
So
I
if
didn't study, so.
So if that is the case, then the applicant can build 15% coverage, and if that structure was attached to their existing, the only reason they're here in front of us is that it's a detached accessory building. If it was
Yeah.
attached to the house in some fashion, it could be built, and they wouldn't even have to come to us.
They wouldn't need a special use permit.
Correct.
I think you're right.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, thanks for the clarification, but that is correct, and that's Attorney Marino's opinion based on 826A in that case law. So, and it's not really allowing to expand a non-conforming use. Because of the time period when the subdivision was approved, it's locked in perpetuity with
Right.
that regulation.
Yeah, maybe
So-
that's a bad way to look at it, not,
Yeah.
you know.
Right.
All right, so just philosophically, is it because it's a subdivision? Because I know if a property on Route 1 wants to change, they have to conform to the current reg. If they want to expand or do, a facade change, they don't have the same ability to say, well, in 1950 or 1960, when we were constructed, these were our rights. We make them comply. Is this different because it's a subdivision?
I think it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That statute in that case specifically discusses when a legal subdivision was approved. So, for example, it has to be a subdivision that was approved by the body in place at the time that could approve it. So if it's just a plot plan or a lot map filed in 1920 or 1940, and it's not approved by this agency or whatever the predecessor agency might have been, then that statute does not apply. So it really, I've had a few of these types of cases, and they're very rare, and it's infrequent when you have something like this. Typically, it doesn't fall into place. The regulations don't impact the change like in this case. I mean, I've
plus
only had
the-
2 or 3 in my career that I've seen have this impacted.
Right. Okay.
But the commissioners bring up a good point that if it were attached, it meets all of the other regulations, and this use is a use that's allowed under your zoning regulations. It's contemplated in your zoning regulations as a accessory use, such as a similar, tennis and similar court games facilities, and things along those lines. So it's contemplated as an allowed accessory use. It's the dwelling and the fact that it's detached, and coverage, the coverage is okay. So what we're really here for is the height of the building, which is over 15 feet, and the size of the building, right, which is over the maximum allowed amount. And so the 675 square feet. But this building, if you had an opportunity to look at the floor plans, it doesn't, and Mr. Bosick and Mrs. Bosick are here, they can give you a little bit more, fill in the color to this about what they want to use it for as far as the family goes. But it has other uses. It's going to replace the garage use that's there for the storage of the tractor and other lawn equipment. There is an exercise facility, and then there's also the court facility for their children who are competitive in sports, as well as sports, including gymnastics. So this board, some of you may have been on the board in 2007, which approved a similar facility on Racebrook Road. You may or may not remember that as a similar type facility and
I remember,
similar
but I
size.
can't believe it was 14 years ago.
Yeah, I know.
No.
I remember the
Right.
applicant.
Right.
It's the basketball court, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that
Would-
was on Friday.
You remember you weren't even on the commission.
Because they designed.
He's like,
Very good.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Very good.
It's 5 days.
So, I mean, I think everyone's framed the issues properly. I mean, we know what we're specifically here for and what the remaining issues are. But, I mean, Rob, did you want to speak a few words about what you wanted to use it for? I think that with something like this, this is for private family
Right,
use.
that would be a question.
Yeah, I figured, so let me have Rob give you some background to it. Yep.
Yeah, it's, like he said, we're pretty big. Oh, this is Rob Bosek. And this is my wife, Tracy Bosek. Both our kids are really actively involved in sports. They both play soccer. My son plays basketball. My daughter does gymnastics. They both actually made a national indoor soccer team. And they actually play on a basketball court. So it's just a little bit bigger, than a regular basketball court. So most of the use inside will be for that soccer and training for that, for that team. And
yes, that was going to be my next question is, what's going to be contained in there?
Yeah, so there'll be it'll be the sports court. It's like the, on the floor, basically over a slab. And like I said, there's going to be a basketball hoop on each end, so they can do basketball. Probably a volleyball net in the middle if they want to play volleyball. But mostly it would probably be used for soccer because that's probably their main sports. So a lot of indoor soccer.
And if you saw the inside of our house, you would understand. My daughter has a tumble track that's how many feet? 12 feet. That's draped through our kitchen into our living room. Our third car garage, our third car garage has another trampoline. She's a competitive gymnast. She's got the bar and the playroom, so these are just things that we would move in.
Yeah, but you also see there's no plumbing in there, so there's not going to be a bathroom. Obviously we're going to have people over that we know that are friends or family that we'd allow into our house to use our bathrooms.
So just electricity then?
Just electricity. There's already existing electricity in the garage that's already out there, and there's existing heat in the garage that was there when I bought the house. That garage is
how tall is it going to be?
It's going to be 20 feet on the sidewalls and 24 to the pitch. You really couldn't go much lower than that for the basketball hoops. Otherwise you'd be hitting the ceiling every
Rob,
time you shoot the ball.
The rendering does not show the houses to the left or to the right. Where would they be located generally?
So to the left is the town. The town owns the property.
Hang on for
So this is all town owns. And in the back, this is the farm. This is Wright's farm back here. So the town owns this, and the town owns that. And then on this side is John Longobardi, just one house. And on the other side of John's house is more town-owned property, because the other is where Wright's Pond is.
Where does the John's house located relative to that?
He's about 300. He's probably over here. He's probably 300 feet away from the structure.
And he's a gentleman that came.
He came to the other meeting and gave his support. I didn't want to have to bring him. I didn't want to bring him down again. I felt bad. He already came down once,
I
but
didn't think I had him on a leash. It's okay.
but yeah,
This is very helpful
Yeah, I see it.
yeah.
because it demonstrates that the proposed facility is kind of isolated.
Very buffered, yeah.
Yeah, when you drive the contour of the road, you literally would have to go like this to see the house as you're going by this way, and you'd have to go like that to even see back to see the garage there. A lot of people probably didn't even know I had a garage back there already.
What is it, over 400 feet from the road to the...
It's going to be over 350 to 360 feet from the road to the actual structure. It's 460 something feet to the back of the property, so it's very long, narrow.
So it could be as much as, it's 400 feet to the proposed building.
Yeah, it's very set back.
Yeah.
I went by there today, and that is extremely far back, where that existing shed is.
Where the shed is, yeah.
Which is about where the proposed building's going.
Yeah, unless and until the town would do something with the currently is agricultural land. Then it'd be 50 feet from that. 52 feet, sorry.
You mean from the back of the proposed new structure to the town line, or where the town would be with the town
The
property?
town-owned land are the fields that you see as you're heading towards the Merritt Parkway exit, and you go past Wright's Pond.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that, currently it's in agriculture.
Okay.
But
they're
it's owned by the
50
town.
feet away from the back line too.
They meet the rear yard
Yeah.
setback.
Right.
Yeah. Why the pictures of the lighting in our package?
I think
I can answer that. The conversation came up with Rob and Jack about, there might be a question from the board about light spillage onto a neighboring property.
Yeah.
So we just supplied lights with some of the specifications to show that they were, what style lights they were, and they would be on the, I think, 2 of the corners of the structure and maybe by the door. So they're going to be far enough away.
And they'll be,
yeah.
or set up in such a way that the light doesn't spill over onto the adjoining.
Right, I forget the terminology for it, but they have those where the light goes down. It's required
Full
by
cutoff, yeah.
full cutoff. Yeah. So they meet the specifications for orange.
So
Yeah.
the intention is to include that.
The lights would be included on the corner of the I can
Right.
draw on the map where their lights would be if you'd like.
No, I mean full cutoff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. It's just to demonstrate the lights.
Yeah, you can't walk back there without lights. It's pretty dark back there.
Even the 12-year-old.
Yeah, and it's going to be white with black trim to match the house, because my house is white with black trim. So in case. Although I think most people, if they do see it, they're going to probably think it belongs to the farm as opposed to us.
You know, the special use, Article 14, Section 383, 133, calls for soil erosion and sediment control plan. And it also calls for, you know, a drainage plan.
Yeah, I believe those were done.
Yeah.
Are those sufficient? Tom, did you review those? Are they sufficiently done? I mean, it shows the location of the, or shows the direction of the water, stormwater drainage.
It shows the silt fence, and it shows the galleries that are going to handle the roof runoff
All right.
from the impervious coverage.
So we're comfortable with that?
Well, the engineer would be comfortable with that when he signs off on the plan after they get or don't get a special use permit, right?
Okay.
The only thing I see with the drainage that we probably want addressed a little better is if the ridge of that structure is running north-south, half of that water is going to drain to the east. And it looks like you're grading up on the north side, which is going to dump a little more water onto the Longobardis. So you just may want to show some kind of subsurface drainage that gets to those galleys.
Okay.
Because the certificate of zoning compliance does state that all roof drains will be tied to a subsurface structure.
Okay.
Other than that, I don't see any issue.
Any other questions for the applicant? Kevin, you have anything to add, or
No, I thought that covers it, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Yeah, thanks.
you're all set? Anything further? Or? No? Okay. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to address this application? No. Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, do we think we need any more information in order to decide the application? Or are we ready to close the public hearing?
No, but the sequencing is not so that they get the sign-offs now, they get the sign-offs after we give the special use from the municipal department?
No, that was gonna be my next question. Do we have sign-offs?
We do have sign-offs. In the past, I know that special use permits were done themselves, and then afterwards, the zoning compliance form would be done. I looked it up in the regs because it seemed a little backwards. They should be done concurrently because we're approving the conceptual use, but not the structure just yet. So in the regs, it actually says that any special permit application should be submitted with a zoning compliance form. And that's the form that all the other department heads have to review and sign off on, which they have for this application.
All right. I mean, no special considerations from the fire department or?
No, no.
Okay.
I mean, they're going to have to meet fire and building code once they have to go through those departments.
All right. So anyway, back to my question. Do we need more information to decide the application, or are we ready to close the public hearing?
Well, I think with a lot of the other structures, we've had a rendering, so we know, I mean, we understand it's gonna be white with black trim to match the house. But maybe, could the applicants talk about the building material, or what it's gonna look like?
You gotta come.
Sorry. Because normally we have like a picture or a drawing or something, so we can see what it looks like.
Yeah, it was hard to get from the company without actually placing. They're looking for you to place the order and make your deposit. But it's going to be very similar if you're going down past Treats Farm as you're headed towards Milford, and you got that building at the end that's like on just a blank lot of land, and there's it's like a barn down there. It's going to look very similar to that because it's 12 gauge steel, and obviously steel metal roof.
Similar to what's over at High
So
Plains.
similar to what's at High Plains, like it's going to look very similar to those barns there.
Painted white.
Painted white to match my house with black trim.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. No problem.
Anything else? All right, then, someone prepared to move that we close the public hearing.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second?
It's been seconded. All those in favor of closing the public hearing signify by saying aye. Aye. All right, it's unanimous. Public hearing is closed. Who wants to start us off on our discussion?
So, but for Tom, I've only been on the board for 6 years, but for 6 years, we've seen like a slow progression of bigger and bigger accessory structures that we look at and try to carefully fit into the adjoining landscape and before we, render a decision. And sometimes it's a huge lot. Sometimes something's down in a deep hole. Because at least I am personally more considered with what's happening, not why it's happening. Because when people change, the why could change. So, basically we're looking at a structure that, whether you want to call it an accessory structure that's supposed to be 300 square feet or a detached garage that's supposed to be 675, it's 10 or 20 times the size of what is in the regulation. And, the height obviously has to be a certain size to get pitch off the roof, so it's above the 15 feet. So, eventually the exceptions swallow the rule here. I mean, why do we, either we shouldn't have a regulation that has size in it, and we should just be open to anyone who walks in with anything of any size and take them one at a time as they come through the door. Or, because at what point is enough on something? So here in Article 14 under special uses, an applicant's entitled to know why something either is or is not, you're not giving it to them or you're giving it to them. And it's relatively specific about the things as to if you're going to choose to disapprove something, where it falls short in your analysis. Or on the other side, if you're going to approve it, why it fits in the character. And I just, at some point, the first thing that's a standard is the size and intensity of the proposed use and the size of the lot upon which it's happening. So we're looking at a building that's slightly larger than the barn on Ewing's Farm, Shamrock Farms, you know, which is something people drive by on Lambert all the time. And that's on, what, a 100-acre farm? You know, the last thing I can recall that was the largest structure that we approved during my tenure was a barn for a farm use where they were growing crops back over by Paugussett.
Well, it's a pretty big one also right near me on Derby, Milford, and Wheelers Farms, I think, which I don't know how I approved that. It dwarfs the house.
Yeah, it's just, you know, it's an acre and a half, and it's 6,000 feet. You know, I mean, I understand a basketball court's 92 by 50, you know, around 5,000 feet. A tennis court's 80 by 40, you know, that's 3,200 square feet. And a floor exercise gym is 40 by 40 or something around there. It just, you know, I mean, is our standard going to be what the ground coverage will carry? You know, it just feels too intense to me personally.
Paul?
Well, I got to say, Kevin articulated it better than I could, but I'm basically on board exactly with what he said. It's been a steady, slow, larger and larger accessory buildings. This one does not harmonize at all with the neighborhood. I've never seen anything. I mean, we've had large buildings before on much larger acreage. The thing that gives me pause is that Bob was and Tracy were very very good about explaining that it's on three sides. There's no one's going to complain, so to speak, and even on the fourth side with the neighbor, that person is on board too. But without regard to that, I don't think this is in harmony with the neighborhood. It's just larger than I've seen, especially on an acre or 1.65 lots or acre lot. It's larger than I was expecting.
I mean, listen, when I looked at the application, that was the first thing that struck me. I mean, 90 by 70, it's huge. I don't know that we've approved one as big.
I don't remember that one. Yeah.
So, and it's not a 5-acre lot. I mean, I think that would make it, or might make a difference. That's made a difference before for us on other applications, you know. The thing is, on this application, the way the lot is configured, it's a long, narrow, deep lot. And so the building is set way off the street. So, you know, what's that worth in terms of acreage? I mean, you know, it's essentially, it's the reason why we've gone along with bigger structures on larger pieces of larger parcels. So here that purpose is, that goal is served by the fact that the configuration of the lot and the accessory building is very, very far off the road and not visible. So that's sort of tempers my concern about the size. And we have approved similar uses. We did do the thing on Racebrook Road. And,
oh, yeah, I don't think
the use is proper.
Yeah, the use is wonderful,
I mean, as the applicant pointed out, indoor tennis court in an enclosed building is one of the uses that a special permit would be allowable for. I don't know, to Kevin's question, you know, when does it end? I mean, is it just it doesn't. I mean, it's, you know, they're all applications made for a special use permit. We need to make certain findings or not. So it's not always, it's not just a matter of the size of the structure. That's one consideration. But I don't see this as being, I don't see this generating any traffic. You know, all the other considerations that we usually look to or that we have to look to on a special permit application, such as size and intensity of the proposed use, the size of the lot on which it is to be located. I mean, I think we could all look at that sort of differently. You know, I think what lacks in terms of the size of the lot is made up for because of the way the lot is configured, the dimensions of the lot, and the way the building is set back, the distance it's set back from the street. There's no traffic considerations. The effect upon property values and appearance in the neighborhood, taking into account the topography of the lot and the character, location, and height of the proposed buildings and structures, and the site plan and proposed landscaping. You know, really not. I was prepared to ask for buffering, you know, between this property and the adjoining property, but it sounds like that's really not necessary. I mean, this is a pretty well hidden use. We didn't hear anything. I don't view this as something that would affect property values. I mean, we have no testimony to that effect, but you know, I guess you could envision something that would be, you know, if it was I don't know, what might affect property values if it was a 90 by 70 pool with, you know, 100 screaming kids in it. That might affect, you know, the neighborhood in some fact, but not even this neighborhood because there's not many people there. You know, that was, I thought, very helpful, the aerial view. It shows how, you know, how sort of desolate, you know, that building is. Fire and police protection needs. It doesn't sound like there's an issue there. The arrangement, design, and nature of any buildings and structures. I mean, it's basically the same structure, the same design that we've approved 100 times. There's nothing crazy about that, you know. So, protect property values, preserve and enhance the appearance and beauty of the community, and to preserve and protect the natural features of the site when feasible. I don't think there's anything we're doing here, or the applicant's proposing, that runs contrary to that. You know, the idea that, you know, we're adversely affecting the natural features of the site. So I don't know. I mean, yeah, I hear your concern, and I don't think this application is before us because, you know, the applicant recognizes a progression of continually larger buildings. They just maybe happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. I don't know. We'll see. But you know, all in, I don't see a problem with the application, to be honest with you. Anybody else want to weigh in?
Yeah, the ridge line of the structure, according to this drawing, will be at elevation 259, and the road is at elevation 250, round numbers. So depending on the intervening, it's a two-story house or a ranch, sir?
Yeah, it's two-story.
Two-story, okay, yeah, so you probably will not read the ridge line through the existing house.
Yeah. Well, just by what Tom said, he drove by it and really couldn't
pretty obscure.
see it from the
One thing
road.
I do have to say, though, one thing I think we ought to be more sensitive to going forward
Right.
is aesthetics. Because there was one big difference between that Racebrook Road project and some of the others we've seen. Yeah, that was a barn red gambrel style basketball court. That was in keeping with the architecture of the town.
Well, you make a good point, because the one we just had was, what was it? They didn't build the house yet. But,
On Lambert,
on Lambert.
the barn in conjunction with the house.
But they were obviously very mindful of having the addition, the accessory building, match up with the architecture of the house they're planning. So it wasn't as simple a building.
I mean, I fully understand and appreciate why they're putting up a pre-engineered metal building. They're very economical. But I think in terms of how they clad these structures,
Right.
at a minimum, we should
I think you're right.
probably be more sensitive to.
I think you're right. On this particular one, though, given where it is on the property, I'm not so sure it matters all that much.
I'm not as concerned.
Yeah.
But moving forward, particularly when they're in proximity to the road, I think we should be careful.
Right, and I think to Kevin's point and to your point with aesthetics, we might want to consider capping maximum size for these accessory buildings before they have to go to ZBA, because they are getting bigger and bigger. And we may want to consider, in our planning capacity, what's the number that we can all live with? We could get a 10,000 square foot one.
I mean, we could always say no, but your point is well taken. I mean, I think, that makes it sort of easier for us if we impose like,
Right, because we can, but we
But
haven't.
it seems arbitrary, though. That'd be the only thing that worried me. Because, I mean, what if you had a 25-acre parcel? Someone wanted to put up a,
Well, maybe you tie a percentage to lot
I
size.
mean, but you still have.
So you
still have
scale up to 24 times this size to to that parcel, and then, you've
But
got
you
a
s-
50,000 square foot building.
Yeah, but you're still faced with the lot density requirement. And
Yeah.
a side yard, rear yard, front yard setback requirements.
It's just, eventually, there's no standard. It's just, we'll look at each one as it comes in.
Well,
There is nothing to hold it up against.
there is. I just said, they're the lot density requirements, the bulk requirements. So there's not nothing. It may be not what
Okay.
you have in mind. And we could impose a cap on the size or whatever. But again, you can't say there are no regulations to control how big it can get. Because there are.
So 10% of 2 acres would be an 8,000 square foot ground coverage. Or no, 10% would be 43,560, so 86,000, 86,
Yeah, you're right.
yeah, 8,600 square feet. That's
Huge.
That's not a residential building. And,
Yeah. All right, anybody else? Judy, nothing?
Well, I mean, it's huge.
Yeah.
The reason why it's somewhat palatable is the configuration of the lot.
Right.
It's very unique, and the buffering all around. If there were houses on either side, I would have a big issue with it. Clearly, it's the owner's right to ask, to have the structure there. There will not be any commercial use. It's clearly for family and friends. I mean, to play soccer.
No plumbing.
Right, no plumbing, no bathroom, existing electricity and heat. I don't know.
and in fairness, even if you have a 4-on-4 soccer team there with 8 cars, he's got plenty of driveway to park in. He's not going to be on the road.
Right.
My problem is not with the size of the depth, it's with the size of the building relative to the 1.65 acres that he has. I don't think we've ever approved anything that big, and I love the use, I think it's terrific, and I understand that he won't be able to see it on 3 sides, and the 4th side doesn't, is on board. I just think it's bigger than we've ever done before, and I don't know if I was persuaded by the side, is there a standard? I think we have a lot of discretion in this, and it's just bigger than I expected, that's all.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you, and it's a valid position to take. I don't disagree with that, but again, I thought that on these applications, we weren't really so focused on the size of it, but on the aesthetics, and its visibility from adjoining properties, from the street, what does it look like?
Right.
And, with that in mind, yes, I could not disagree with this being, the magnitude of the addition, the building. But I don't see it adversely affecting anybody.
And going forward, your position would be that they have to be handled individually, so that the fact that this is 6,000 square feet or whatever I think the square 6,000 on 1.65, when the next applicant comes in with a larger lot and but it's more visible, is this going to be?
I'm going to consider all the factors.
No, but are you saying that if, the precedent, say there were homes on either side, and it's an acre and a half.
So it would be different.
It would be different.
Yeah.
It would be, to me, it would be different.
Yeah, they are all unique applications.
That's why that's the discretion you have when there's a special permit application. It's designed that way. So again, I'm not hung up on the size of the structure or that alone. I'm looking at it as it relates to other factors. All right. I think we're all clear on where we are. Can we put this to a vote? Is somebody prepared to make a motion, or do we want a further discussion? I don't see the value of further discussion here. I think we've covered it. Somebody prepared to make a motion on the application? And we just one other thing. I mean, what was the one item we would take care of if this were approved? The applicant agreed to do something post-closing or post.
Oh, Tom's comment.
Yeah, about the drainage.
That would be part of it, right? Okay. All right. So anyway, back to a motion from somebody.
I'll make a motion to accept the special permit application submitted by Robert and Tracy Bosak for property known as 658 Ridge Road for the construction of a 70-foot by 90-foot indoor sporting facility for private use, with the caveat that they provide proper subsurface drainage to hook into the stormwater galleries.
Okay. We have a motion to approve the application. Do we have a second of the motion? Nope. All right, well then the motion is defeated. Do we have another motion? Do we have a motion to not approve?
Do we have?
I think we do, don't we?
I mean, we have to reach a decision.
Yeah.
Well, not have to, we could keep it open, but,
Not anymore.
Well, the public hearing's not open.
Right.
right, we could keep discussion between the commission open,
You could
but
put it
a
on as an
decision.
agenda.
Yeah, we could put it on the next agenda. But,
No, why, we're voting.
Yeah.
There was a motion to approve the application. It wasn't seconded. The motion is defeated. Somebody prepared to make another motion now.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we deny the special permit application submitted by Robert and Tracy Bosek for property known as 658 Ridge Road, for the construction of 70 by 90-foot indoor for sporting facility for private use.
All right, we have a motion to deny the application. Do we have a second?
I think you have to have a reason for the denial in the motion, like the intensity.
Yeah, sure, and that's exactly where I was going, is that I believe that the structure is not harmonious with the neighborhood. It's too intense for the size of the lot. That's really my only objections.
All right. Do we have a second to the motion?
Second.
Motion's been seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Smith, Cornell, and Kaplan, aye. Opposed? Tom and I. All right. All right, that takes care of that. Anybody need a break, or we continue?
Just let me know when I need to get back on.
All right.
Next.
All right, next item on our agenda is a petition to amend the Orange zoning regulations. This is on our own initiative. To amend Article 3, Section 383-26I4A, and Article 14, Sections 383-186 and 383-187. This is in regards to off-street parking in the residential district. To include updated standards for commercial vehicles. Does everybody have the proposed regulations? Oh, let's start, that's right, we're going to open the public hearing and have Paul read the notice.
This one, I think, yes.
To appear one time on Friday, November 5th, 2021, and one time on November 12th, 2021, Orange TPZC. Notice of public hearing. Notice is hereby given that on Tuesday, November 16th, 2021, at 7 p.m. at the Orange Town Hall, 617 Orange Center Road, the Orange Town Plan and Zoning Commission will conduct a public hearing on the following: petition to amend the Orange zoning regulations submitted upon the initiative of the Town of Orange Planning and Zoning Commission to amend Article 3, Section 383-26I4 little a, and Article 19?
19.
Section 383-186 and Section 383-187, off-street parking in a residential district to include updated standards for commercial vehicles. A copy of this notice has been filed in the Orange Town Clerk. Additional information is on file in the Orange Zoning Department, dated in Orange, Connecticut, this 4th day of November, 2021.
Thank you, Paul. All right, we've already looked at this proposed language a few times, right?
There were a few changes to the language we needed to discuss with respect to the gross vehicle weight needs to be changed to curb weight, I believe. Because the gross vehicle weight included the occupants plus the maximum tow load, or the maximum load.
Yeah.
Curb weight.
Curb weight.
Okay.
Right.
Now, let me ask you this. In that subsection B, 4B, off-street parking, any such, so it gives, in A, you have off-street parking accessory to a dwelling may include only one vehicle, having a state of Connecticut commercial plate registration, 2, having a commercial registration in any other state, or 3, with advertisement and/or marketing of a service or business on its exterior. That all makes sense to me. I think that's what we talked about.
Correct.
And that's what we wanted to accomplish. Then you go to B, and it says, any such vehicle identified in sections 1 or 2 must be owned and operated by a resident of the dwelling, and I'm okay with that.
Yep.
then it says, must be parked or stored only in an enclosed garage or accessory building.
Correct.
Doesn't that defeat the whole purpose of what we're
Off-street
trying to
parking?
accomplish?
Yeah, it was supposed to be able to be on your driveway, so to speak.
That's what we were talking about.
Right. That, because what it is right now is exactly, what this describes is exactly what it
It
is.
is right now.
So I think that phrase I just read, I mean, the problem is, pickup trucks that people use for work every day don't fit in the usual garage. So, I mean, it doesn't make sense that we would include that phrase, unless I'm misreading this. It's possible.
The only thing to keep in mind, and I do agree, the biggest current issue I think that we all had with the way the regs are today is the difference between commercial and combination. The regs today treat them as the same thing. We are excluding any combination plated vehicle, which is most pickup trucks.
Okay.
So regardless of what they're used for, if you own your pickup truck personally and you drive it to truck every day, or you drive it to work every day, it's a combination vehicle, so it would not be regulated.
How do you
A
determine?
commercial vehicle, I believe, goes by if it's registered to a business or if it exceeds a certain weight, it's commercial. So Paul Kaplan LLC would have a commercially plated vehicle regardless of what that vehicle is. A combination vehicle is a privately owned vehicle that does not classify as commercial nor a strictly passenger vehicle.
Yeah, see, I don't think that that's gonna get us at least where I wanna go.
Yeah.
Which is a small, definitely used for commercial purposes, in other words, registered to a business, but it's small. It's a regular pickup truck or even a small SUV that has a sign on it, J&J Plumbing or whatever. I don't know if there's a J&J Plumbing, whatever, but
Free marketing.
and that they didn't want to have to get a separate garage, which is a pretty good expense. These are the calls I've been getting anyhow.
So we want them to be able to park their business truck
Right.
in their driveway and not be in violation of the
One.
zoning.
Based on the
One
size.
truck.
Right, one.
Right, one,
truck.
yes.
Regardless of
Side.
commercial or combination
Yeah,
registration.
I think that's
Totally on board, just.
because
so we all
you're
know.
basically talking about the same vehicle, and the way it's registered would either exclude or include.
Correct.
And I think we should go for, substance rather than form.
Well, go back to the beginning of this whole discussion. What we're trying to avoid is having, a commercial enterprise run out of a residential dwelling
Well,
with,
I think there's a size factor here. Not talking about 5 different trucks. We're talking about one commercial guy who runs a business, doesn't run it out of his home, but he parks. The question is, where is he going to park his vehicle?
right, but what we're trying to regulate, we're trying to regulate against a person who has several vehicles.
So I think we're all.
So that's what I think we've accomplished
Right.
our
But-
goal.
Let's run the scenario that exists, in my neighborhood. I have people in my neighborhood who are tradesmen, who have a work truck and/or van with identification signage, discrete, on the sides of the vehicles. Okay? But they also own a pickup truck. Okay? Now, what we're trying, in my mind, to avoid is someone who has 5 plumbing vans
Yeah.
parked in their driveway.
Exactly.
But if the person happens to own a pickup truck and his work van, they can both park in the driveway.
Does the pickup truck have any insignias, or is it a commercial vehicle?
One is, one isn't, right? In your-
Well, in my scenario, they're both combo plates because they're like a Sprinter van has a combo plate and a pickup truck has a combo plate. So, to me, what's
Well,
that?
you could have husband and wife, they each have a car, it happens to be a pickup
It
truck.
happens to be a pickup
Right.
truck. So that we don't want to bother the
That's not what-
residential.
But in that
I own a
scenario,
pickup
they
truck.
are both combination plates, which are not included in this. So you could have 8 pickup trucks, all combination plates, and this regulation does not.
As long as only one
Restrict
of
you
them
from
has
doing that.
advertisement on it.
Correct.
Right.
Only one would be able to have advertisement,
Okay.
but as long as none of them are commercial, you could have as many pickup hypothetically as you want, so long as they're registered to a individual, not a business.
Or like when my kids were growing up and there were 5 cars in the parking lot.
Yeah, yeah. On the street and everywhere else.
So, I guess what I'm getting at is that what I was looking to restrict, or you know, I guess restrict is the best word, was one commercial vehicle with regard, and a size limitation, I think it was 7,500 curb weight.
Correct.
Per house, you know, per home, okay, without touching anything else. So that if a combination with no insignia, not.
Unmarked
Right.
pickup truck.
I mean, I think that's what I was trying to get to, was that the commercial vehicle, if it was not, you know, if it was within the space limitations, you know, I have a person who I know is an inspector, you know, a
Home
home
inspector.
inspector.
Yeah.
He's got a little itty bitty vehicle. It's got, you know.
The name of his company on the door.
Why shouldn't he be able to park that there? You know, I think he's right.
I
But
do
to
too.
Ozzy's original point, before we started the discussion, to achieve that, Section B, the language about must be parked or stored only in an enclosed garage or accessory building, from those between comma and comma, should be struck.
Yeah.
It should read, any of vehicles identified in section 1 or 2 must be owned and operated by the resident of the dwelling. And then go straight to, and may not exceed 7,500 pounds
I think we're on.
curb weight.
So at that
So what
point,
happens when,
So that's the one commercial vehicle.
Right.
what happens when the guy drives to work every day in his dump truck?
It's more than 7,500.
So that's how we solve that problem. What about the bus?
Well, my suggestion is that when we go to subsection 1, 2, 3, you know, where it has the only when accessory to the followings,
Yeah,
that we insert some language that, it's something like a resident owner operator of a school bus, you know,
Shall not be.
well, I mean, it's just like it says, otherwise parking and storage so without limit is permitted. So if it's one of the permitted uses
Yeah.
identified between 1, 2, 3, and 4,
accessory to the following.
yeah,
And we include the language you're talking about
right.
to preserve.
An owner, you know, a resident owner operator of a school bus. A school bus, you know, well, some combination of words.
Well, let somebody else figure that
so
out.
you're saying essentially make an item 6 referring to school buses in the residential zone.
Yes.
Owner operated school bus
I'm
shall
gonna
not
go
be
with
prohibited
Ozzy.
under this section.
Yeah.
Don't we pretty much address that under B2? Where we say a use or facility operated by or for the town of Orange or regional school district number 5? That doesn't cut it?
I think that
Yeah,
that
yeah,
does
yeah.
refer to it.
Or that's probably why that was there. I didn't even see that.
But what if,
Item number 2.
Yep.
what if he drives the bus to Mary L. Tracy? That's not regional school 5. That's the
Town
high
of
school.
Orange.
Town of Orange.
Or
Town of
regional.
Orange or Regional School 5.
Mario's Town of Orange.
Is,
Why, Mary L's not Town of Orange?
no, it's just, to me, that's more like if the DPW has a dump truck lot in a residential zone, they can park wherever they want in there. Where does the
I think the only sticky wicket.
facility, the use, so you're saying that the school bus use is a Town of Orange use?
Well, otherwise, the parking or storage of vehicles.
Operated by or for the town of Orange?
Only when,
Well,
only
the-
when accessory to the following.
Or
A use or facility, a use operated by or for the town of Orange. I think that covers it.
I'm not going to enforce it,
A
so
use
if we
or
think
facility
that covers school
operated for the
buses,
town of Orange.
I'm good
I
with
mean,
it.
if you want to add the language, school buses, to be more specific, we could do that.
Well, this
No,
one.
you gotta
will,
read-
for
you
dump-
have to read
Does
the-
any other vehicle go home with like the dump trucks
I don't
or
think
anything?
any public works guys or
That's what I'm
highway
asking.
department would bring a town-owned vehicle home with them, unless possibly in the winter for plowing.
In
But I would, the way I read it, and again, open to interpretation, is that this would clearly cover school buses or any, employee, I mean, a school bus driver for the town of Orange is a town employee.
So that
the
way
town
we're
of Orange-
looking at-
That's how I feel.
Actually, along to that point, I think if you really want to get technical about it, there aren't they contract drivers?
Yeah, they're contractors.
So
You could be right,
I only know that from Jim Zioli talking about being a contract bus
Yeah,
driver.
I'm pretty sure they have to bid on contracts on a year, or, some yearly basis.
No, but
But
you
still
gotta,
we're still saying by or for the town of
Right.
Orange.
Yeah.
So-
If we choose to interpret it that way, and it's in a record someplace so that someone can count on it, I'm fine with that.
Yes, the poor SOB's got to enforce it.
no, I think, Kevin, the problem with calling out school buses specifically
Right.
is that we're certainly forgetting about some other vehicle
Okay.
that somebody routinely drives home from work in every night and parks in his driveway. I don't know what that would be. How about a landscaper who carries a trailer with him?
The town does contract out plowing contracts, and I think some tree work when necessary. So say the landscaping company that we contract out to, by or for the town of Orange, I guess you could interpret it that way as well.
As I said, that'll be your.
Yeah.
I don't.
Now
I
we're
don't
back
see-
to a dump truck in the
I don't
driveway.
know. I don't see that we have to get into whether they're independent contractors or employees, or, I mean, it's by or for the town. Their work is by or for a use or facility operated by or for the town of Orange.
I do want to throw out there, I've never gotten a phone call about a school bus problem. Just a lot more about these
Who would dare?
commercial, right.
Right.
But again, go back to the beginning. That's not what we're trying to regulate. What we're trying to regulate is the guy who's got a,
I just didn't want to regulate that commercial vehicle out of
No.
someone's job.
I think to protects it enough to the point where it would be very difficult to interpret it any other way, or God forbid, I find myself in a scenario like that.
Well, the scenario would, somebody would come to you, present the fact that there's a school bus parked in the driveway next door to them, get it out of there, and you say, well, here's the regulation, that's what
Right.
it says.
Right.
And again, I have yet to receive any such complaint.
Okay,
All right,
makes it easier.
is there anyone in the public who wishes to address the commission on this proposal?
Must I?
Yeah.
Oh, Lord. My name is Shelby Zold. I live at 839 College Road in Orange and have since 1972. Sorry. College Road is over near the junior high school. It's a very small area that was laid out in, I believe, 1915, 1917, very small pieces of property. And they're all unusual sizes. The roads are narrow. We recently have a new neighbor who is renting a house next door, and they seem to be lovely people. They're new to the neighborhood. Two other neighbors were going to be with me tonight, but one is babysitting, and the other one has to have a root canal today, so they didn't come. The problem is that the new person is evidently a landscaper and does have a large dump truck that he uses every day. He also pulls a very large enclosed panel trailer behind the dump truck. He has a small panel truck as well. Very often he has a number of evidently workers who come with him. So on occasion there are 5 or 6 cars that they will park there, and often actually across the lawn. The street runs this way and they're parking cars this way on the grass, on the driveway, and if there's not enough room, 2 more cars on the street, which can sometimes make it difficult for people to, it's hard enough for 2 cars to pass anyway, never mind having additional cars on the street. So my concern, our concern in the neighborhood is the amount of space that these vehicles are taking up. I mean, I have a Silverado pickup truck myself, but it's a combo plate. But again, I don't have printing on mine, and I'm not going out doing landscaping. But that's our concern in the neighborhood, is the, and when he's backing in, sometimes he'll be there for an hour or so with his truck sticking out before he gets everything unloaded, really creating an issue in the street where sometimes the school bus has trouble getting by. So that's my concern.
And those vehicles are routinely parked overnight.
No.
No.
No, from that scenario, it sounds to me like an illegal business.
Yeah.
There are certain home-based businesses that are permitted,
Yeah.
but landscaping in the residential district is not.
Correct.
So
It's
it's
got
not our
nothing to do-
intent
nothing to do
to have
with this.
workers come to a site, leave their cars for the day, and go out and work. That's
Right.
not
Right.
what's supposed to be happening.
What's your first name?
My name is Shelby.
Shelby, and just so that we're clear, because I was just focusing on the regulation, this regulation would not affect anything that you're talking about, meaning that the dump truck and the business, the home-based business that he's running is not appropriate, then it would be inappropriate under this as well.
That's what I was gathering. I'm taking notes here, but I just wanted to let
This
our...
isn't the section of the regulations that makes it inappropriate.
No, it doesn't,
There's
but-
something else.
Right, but I just wanted to point out
Yeah.
to her that we were
This has got
talking about this
nothing-
regulation. I
right.
wanted to make sure that she understood, because she happened to be in the.
I
The only thing
understand.
that it would change is currently any combination plated vehicle is supposed to be enclosed. Again, I know that's not your complaint, but this wouldn't affect the business being run out of there, which is a separate part of the regs that would prohibit that. But currently, let's say he does have a dump truck, let's say we do approve this. If he has one truck on there that does not exceed 7,500 pounds curb weight,
Yep.
then that would be allowed to stay on the property.
Correct.
And you could have one trailer.
Yeah.
The site, it's a very large
It's a
trailer.
No, I'm
panel.
just saying
Do we
that,
specify paneled or open?
I believe you could have multiple trailers. You can only have one habitable trailer, so one RV or one. Yeah, I believe I was looking that up.
It's a different section of the regs.
yeah.
Right.
I have not checked the plates. I don't know if they're commercial or combo plates.
Well, hopefully it doesn't
They do
really
have a name
matter.
on the side of the vehicle, but there's no phone number. It's something pretty generic. But
Maybe
Well, with
the-
respect to the specific issue that's happening there, you should contact the zoning enforcement officer.
Yeah, you just did.
I did
And
last
Jack will
week. I
get-
left a message last week about something else entirely, but I hadn't heard back. So I'll be calling you again.
I'll be there tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
Okay, I'm happy the school bus drivers are safe.
So just so I'm clear, on section B, we took out must be parked or stored in enclosed garage or accessory building. So to reword this, any such vehicle identified in sections 1 or 2, I or double I, must be owned and operated by a resident of the dwelling and may not exceed 7,500 pounds curb weight.
Curb weight.
Yeah.
Do you-
So, and then I could merge that with the next sentence, any such vehicle identified in section III must be owned and operated by a resident of the dwelling and must not exceed 7,500 pounds curb
What do you
weight.
mean merge it?
The only difference between the first sentence and the second sentence was must be stored or parked in an enclosed garage.
No, but
So now the first sentence and the second sentence are effectively saying the same thing.
no, but one's a reference to sections 1 and 2, the other one's a reference to section 3.
But they're the same reference, so you could go 1, 2, and 3.
Oh, I see what I
Right.
see what you're saying. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can reword that just to obviously
Yeah.
make a little sense.
Why don't we hold the public hearing open? Print it in
Right.
final
Reword.
form. We could discuss it one last time, if necessary, next, or 2 weeks from now. and then put it to a vote.
That sounds good to me.
And then just real quick, while we're talking about the buses, there is a commercial bus business in a residential district, but it's grandfathered in.
Yes.
So that's not a part of any of this discussion? Okay. They predate zoning, so.
And just so we know, I know this is small potatoes, but the next 2 pages for the standards, that was all signage, just so I made sure that there was language differentiating between signage on vehicles and other signage in the residential district that's not allowed. Because I didn't want somebody seeing, a small advertisement on a vehicle that by this we would be allowing, and saying that directly contradicts what it says in the sign regulations for the district. So that first sentence that I amended for 383-186 and 383-187 just is clarifying language so nobody, tries to misinterpret that at all.
Okay.
I do have a question, though, so I have to make sure I'm clear on this. So if we had a combination plate on a vehicle less than 7,500 curb weight, we're fine with that, is what you're saying to me. Because that's basically interpreted as a personal vehicle, a la what Kevin was saying before. The thing that I'm curious about is what happens if there's printing on the side of that vehicle. Any change in terms of the interpretation of the regulation?
Printing as opposed to advertisement?
Or you mean?
Well, but yeah, advertisement.
You get
Combination
one.
plate,
You get one.
you get one. So that having a state of Connecticut, I'm just reading, off-street parking to a dwelling unit may include one vehicle having a commercial plate, so that's not us, having commercial registration in any other state, that's not us, or with an advertisement. Okay, that's the one I'll get you. Good. Okay.
It's like making sausage.
Yes.
This legislation
Oh, it's-
process.
Unintended consequences.
Right.
All right. Anything further?
Nope.
I'm fading fast with my cold here.
Okay. I move that we adjourn.
All right, we have a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
I will-
Second.
Seconded twice. You pick it, Tammy. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Okay, feel better.
Feel better?
Your weekly condition.
Facilities is custodians used to put orders in whenever they needed something. So I've tried to streamline that so we're all ordering at the same time of the month, and we